Hey everyone, and thanks for joining me. Today we'll be having a look at the Paris Fashion Week Spring Summer 2020 menswear shows that just finished the past few weeks. I'm gonna be, like we always do in this channel, I'm gonna be looking at the highlight shows, the highlight looks that I liked, and I'll be going over them with you. This past Spring Summer 2020 shows, they were a bit underwhelming, some of them, while others were really good. But I would say that compared to other Paris Fashion Weeks and other ones I have reviewed myself, I didn't like them as much as previous ones. But there were still some highlight shows that I wanted to talk to you about. So the first highlight show, and the one that I'm always looking out for, is the Undercover show. As all of you might know, if you watched my previous video, I'm a big fan of Sebastian's work in the firm, and I'm a very big fan of a few of his previous collection in the menswear side. So a new and the collection, right? The last one, which I did a review also, I was a bit lukewarm on it. It wasn't as good as I had hoped. It didn't click with me as much as the one from the women's side. And in this one, I wouldn't say it's lukewarm. I would say it's more positive than negative, but it's still lacking something. Other than that, I think it was a great show. So this time Sebastian took as inspiration the sailor look of port workers, dockers, etc. That seaman, sailor look that has been so used in fashion. You can even see perfumes or this same motif used a lot in very different ways in the fashion world, and sometimes to such a manner that's become a cliche even, and it can appear very in a bad taste as it may. But like Sebastian does, in my opinion, he doesn't have bad taste. So he took this very classic, very overused motif, right, and he injected it with the DNA that he has been developing since he took over the firm. So in this fashion show, we saw classic Sebastian, the monochromatic, but introducing those very cool new colors. You had yellows, you had blues, you had pinks, you had those very cool accessories that Sebastian always brings to his shows, this time in the form of a beret to give that sailor look, and then with some more strings. Those motifs, those sailor motifs that you might see super exaggerated if they come from someone like Dolce & Gabbana or Jeremy Scott. Here they were treated in a very romantic way, as well as taking the sailor look as an inspiration. He took some inspiration from Shakespeare and others. As Sebastian normally does, he takes inspiration from art, literature and movies. Also in this fashion show, you can see some of Sebastian's very expert styling, the loose buttons, the unbuttoned look, the draping strings, that give his and looks a very personal DNA, but also mixed with the an aesthetic. Here I've been showing you some of my favorite looks. Most of the monochromatic looks are more closer to what I like, but still, it was a very good collection. Of course, not up to par to the ones I really love, but I think it's a very good, very solid, and very wearable pieces that are being shown in this one. Alright, so next show I wanted to highlight, and it's one I never have really talked in depth about in this channel, is Dior Homme. Ever since Kim Jones took over Dior Homme, he has been generating a lot of buzz, a lot of desirability for his whole collections, and that is what Kim Jones does, right? They bring him into a fashion house, be it Louis Vuitton or Dior, and he is able to make very sellable, wearable collections that a lot of people are drawn towards because they're modern, but they're classic at the same time, and they're very desirable, be it from a very high celebrity to some normal guy who just earns his money, all the way from America to Korea. He has been the it factor, and Kim Jones really knows how to do this. And he's been doing it with Dior Homme ever since he took over from Chris Van Ash. I think Kim, since his first collection with Dior, has shown us that he is really the king of collaborations, right? And the first one, he started his collaboration with Matthew Williams from Alix, that he knew that Alix was very popular, very hitting it, very out there with their roller coaster bells, etc. And he incorporated that into the Christian Dior ethos, but without forgetting the past, which I think is really, really good, and without forgetting being creative. So what Kim did, right, he took some of the past of Christian Dior, some of the future with his collaborations with Ambush, with you and Ambush in the jewelry, and Matthew Williams, and he modernized it in such a way to make it incredibly desirable for the modern consumer. And he has kept doing this since his first collection. And to me, this one right here, the Spring Summer 2020, I think is one of the best collection he has ever shown. Continuing on with the tradition of collaborating for the Dior Homme shows, he has collaborated with the modern artist Daniel Arsham. This was very curious to me and very surprising, since I hadn't really been following Dior Homme that closely, so I didn't know that this collaboration was happening. And I have been following Daniel Arsham for a while now. I find his art very appealing. I find all his modern future archaeology, very interesting. I really like the crystal work he does. I don't know, I really liked him as an artist, and I've been following him for a long time. So it was really shocking and surprising. I mean, he has been friends with Kim Jones for a long time, but to incorporate his art so closely with the collection, interweave it even into it and giving it life, to me was incredible and very surprising. Since I didn't know this was happening, I just found out, I was like, wow. So these two are collaborating, that's pretty cool. So firstly, Daniel Arsham introduced the pink sand, which has been used previously in some of his art collections and art showings, which is a different take from a traditional gardening technique and a peaceful way to move sand in Japan. I'll be sure to put the name here, it doesn't come to mind right now. Also, Arsham is very famous for his kind of archaeology excavation things that he finds in the year 3019, something from the modern age that has been found underneath the earth and has been eroded with crystals, etc. So he introduced this into the Dior Homme collection, and I think in a very, very creative way and a very fluid way. Kim Jones in this collection, what he did, he showed us very, very traditional tailoring, but changed with those accessories. We've got the classic saddlebags that now Daniel Arsham, actually working together with Dior team, actually made one with eroded crystals. We saw eroded caps. We saw a lot of the motifs from Daniel Arsham and the ideas, the creative ideas introduced into this collection. That's why it's so interesting, right? Even Daniel Arsham worked with them to do a transparent boot, etc. To me, it was a very, very interesting show, and a lot of taking such a creative mind and bringing it together with Kim Jones, which is such an expert in doing very good clothes, classical tailoring, but elevating it a little bit. All right, so finally, the third show I wanted to highlight here, and one that had me very confused and shocked, was the latest Undercover show. Undercover has always been very creative, very out there with their silhouettes, their colors, their inspirations, etc. And in this fashion show, Jun Takahashi went a little like 180 degrees of what he has been designing for years and years, right? And he showed us a very, very extremely monochromatic black showing. I would compare this show to something from Yohji Yamamoto even, where everything was black. Everything was dull, monotone, and very minimalist. You would never say that this was an Undercover show. It was pretty much the antithesis of what Jun had been bringing forth from before, and I think this has a lot of importance, right? He wouldn't do it just because. I think with this all black, all very traditional, centered on classical tailoring, it seems like Jun is kind of having a critique at this whole streetwear or the whole over-the-top consumerism and fashion that has been very prevalent and very popular lately. But I might be reaching too much since he hasn't said it outright, but that is a bit of what I feel from this collection. Very classical sartorial tailoring, a lot of the only word here is classic, something you would see anyone wearing pretty much, But again, the devil is in the details, as never better said, as for this same collection, right? Even if everything was black, the details and the different patterns and fabrics, almost like the same thing happens with Joji, where everything is black. Here, the same thing happens. June did say, however, that this collection was inspired about inner demons, the devil inside, and we can see that with some of the motifs in the collection. We can see a lot of devils, spiders. This collection also has a lot of motifs of Nosferatu and Cindy Sherman. Again, a very interesting showing, a lot of very extremely wearable pieces, and I don't know, it was just extremely shocking to me. So I just wanted to keep this video very short, and my 3 favorite fashion shows from this past fashion week. Other highlights, I mean, Joji was good. It didn't wow me like other collections. It was pretty standard. Let's see. Alex was pretty good. I like the tailoring, and Matthew Williams just keeps doing what he does best. I mean, just making very, very cool clothes. I really like C's Marjan. Vetements was Vetements. I mean, they made a fashion show in a McDonald's. I mean, you can take all you want, and them not can tell you that it's an overt critique, meta critique of fashion and blah blah. But I mean, if you like that, I respect it. But it's just a fashion show, and like he's taking a piss. He's just laughing. Rick Owens was pretty good. Also, there were a lot of very cool. He centered the whole collection around his Mexican heritage, and there was a lot of cool silhouettes and fabrics and new shoes. But Rick is going into a very different direction of what he has been doing in the past, and some of the direction I really liked. So I'm not super interested in what he's doing right now, but I still respect him, and I still love how he reinvents himself every time, and it's great. And that's pretty much it. Please let me know down below if you liked any of the other fashion shows that I haven't mentioned, and we can have a little discussion about the ones I did. Let me know if you liked them, if you didn't like them, and if you agree with some of the impressions I had. I'm not saying they are absolutely objective what the artist wanted to express in the shows, but so anyway, thanks for joining me, and see you next time.